Have you ever asked yourself, how can I end suffering? Where must I go? What must I do? Or who must I become to truly touch inner peace? You may have tried to live kindly, to love more deeply, to practice patience, yet pain keeps returning like sudden rain, unannounced. The Buddha once said, there is suffering, but there is also the cessation of suffering. A simple statement, yet it contains the essence of liberation itself. And that is Nirodha. The truth of the cessation of suffering. The Buddha did not merely speak of suffering, he revealed the path beyond it. Thousands of years ago, amidst a world filled with pain and impermanence, he declared the Four Noble Truths, the foundation of all wisdom. Among them, Nirodha, the cessation, stands as the ultimate destination, where the flames of greed, hatred, and delusion are extinguished. There is suffering, but there is also the ending of suffering. It sounds simple, yet if we pause deeply enough, this truth can transform our entire existence from birth. Every human carries a silent question: how can I be happy? We search for happiness in love, wealth, fame, and success, yet seldom realize that our search itself is an escape from suffering. Suffering is not only tears, loss, or loneliness, it is also the emptiness that lingers amid abundance. Some are wealthy yet unhappy. Some are loved yet lonely. Some have everything, yet still feel something missing. Suffering, at its root, is simply the mind that refuses to rest. The Buddha did not teach people to escape suffering but to see it clearly and end it through wisdom. He likened humans to patients. Knowing the disease is dukkha, suffering. Knowing its cause is samudaya, origin. Knowing it can end is nirodha, cessation. And knowing the cure is magga, the path. These four truths are the complete map of awakening. In the Samyutta Nikaya, Connected Discourses, the Buddha said, just as a sick man who understands his illness, its cause, and its remedy can be healed, so too, one who knows suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path leading to cessation, becomes free. Many fear the word cessation, believing that ending suffering means losing emotion, passion, or life itself. But cessation does not mean disappearance. It means ending the power suffering holds over the mind. We still live, laugh, and love, but are no longer ruled by craving or fear. When the mind is no longer swayed by pleasure or pain, gain or loss, praise or blame, then the truth of cessation begins to shine. Nirvana is not a place to reach, but a state of mind, utterly still and free. Once, during a Dharma talk, a monk asked his master, "Master, how can I end my suffering?" The master smiled and said, "When you no longer ask that question." It sounds paradoxical, yet it holds the key to Nirodha. When we stop chasing the idea of happiness, when we stop seeking relief outside ourselves, when we pause to look deeply within, suffering already begins to fade. There is no fire like lust, no misfortune like hatred, no suffering like delusion, and no peace like nirvana. Dhammapada, verse 202. Cessation is never far away. Each moment you pause, not feeding anger, not clinging to desire, not sinking into ignorance, you are already touching the stillness of Nirodha. Suffering is not destiny, and the end of suffering is not a mystery. It lives in every mindful breath, in every moment we recognize, release, and rest in the present. When we truly see this, we realize that Nirodha is not somewhere in the future, it is here. Now, within our own heart. Let us move forward to the next part, where we'll explore the true nature of cessation, and why the Buddha called it the supreme peace. When people hear the word cessation in the Third Noble Truth, many mistakenly think it means total disappearance, like a candle blown out, a soul vanishing into nothingness. But the Buddha never taught that ending suffering means ending life. Instead, Nirodha is the awakening of a new way of being, where the mind is no longer chained by afflictions, and the vision becomes clear and free. The Buddha called this nibbana, literally, the extinguishing of the flame. Yet it does not extinguish life, it extinguishes the fire of greed, hatred, and delusion that burns the heart. When these flames are stilled, wisdom arises, and serenity appears like the moon after rain. Many believe that to realize the cessation of suffering, one must renounce the world, live in solitude, or practice extreme austerity. But the Buddha clearly said, Nirvana can be realized here and now, within this very life. It does not require a next life or heavenly realm. It begins the moment the mind stops running and rests in awareness. Bhikkhus, there is a path leading to the cessation of suffering. And, bhikkhus, this cessation can be realized in this very life, not only hereafter. Samyutta Nikaya 36.11. The Buddha taught that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. If suffering is conditioned, arising from causes, then when those causes cease, suffering also ceases. No pain is eternal. Only clinging to pain makes it endure. He said in the Samyutta Nikaya, dependent on causes, suffering arises. When those causes cease, suffering ceases. If you suffer from desire, simply see it clearly and let it go, suffering ends. If you suffer from anger, recognize it without feeding it, peace returns. Thus, Nirodha is not magic, it is the natural law of the mind. The wise do not extinguish fire with fire, nor end pain with blame. Cessation begins with right view, seeing the nature of suffering without fear. The ignorant run from pain. The wise look deeply into it until it loses its power. By oneself is evil done, by oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone, by oneself is one purified. Dhammapada, verse 160. When you realize that suffering does not come from the world but from how you respond, you regain the power to choose peace. It's not the situation that frees you, but the way you see it. The Buddha taught, one who ends suffering is one who knows how to stop. Stopping doesn't mean passivity, it means ceasing ignorant reaction. In every moment, we have two choices: to follow our old emotions, or to stop, breathe, and look deeply. Each time we refrain from anger, we extinguish a portion of suffering. Each time we release an unnecessary desire, we taste the sweetness of freedom. No greater happiness than a well-trained mind. Dhammapada, verse 35. In the Majjhima Nikaya, the Buddha described nirvana as the mind cooled, no longer burning with the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. The word nibbana literally means the wind that blows out the flame. When defilements arise, the mind becomes a burning house. Every burst of anger feeds the flame, every craving fans it further. But when wisdom arises, the same wind turns cool, and the fire goes out. Nirvana is not a place to go, but a homecoming of the heart. One can live in the world and still touch cessation. You can work, love, and face challenges, yet remain unmoved inside. That is living nirvana in daily life. Someone once asked a Zen master, "Master, I still work, have a family, many worries, can I attain nirvana?" The master smiled. If in the noise you can still hear your own breath, you are already near nirvana. Many think Nirodha is a single moment of enlightenment, a sudden realization. But the Buddha taught that cessation is a gradual process, not an instant event. Each time you cling less, hate less, and see more clearly, you step closer to nirvana. As rain fills a jar, drop by drop, the wise fill themselves with goodness. Dhammapada, verse 122. Nirvana doesn't arrive with thunder. It arrives in quiet moments when you choose kindness, understanding, and peace. Many skeptics ask, is it really possible to end suffering? The Buddha answered through his own life. From a prince surrounded by luxury, he renounced all to seek truth, and found a path beyond all sorrow. He spoke not from theory but from direct realization. There is suffering, there is the cause of suffering, there is the cessation of suffering, and there is a path leading to the cessation of suffering. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the turning of the wheel of Dharma. If the Buddha could see and experience it, so can we, for the seed of awakening lies within every being. Understanding Nirodha is not enough. For wisdom arises not by hearing or knowing alone. To truly end suffering, one must practice, contemplate, and realize. One must walk the Noble Eightfold Path, the path the Buddha showed. Only then does Nirodha become a lived experience, not a distant ideal. In the next part, we'll explore reflections and scriptural insights, how the Buddha and later masters described cessation, and how it can be lived in our modern lives. When the Buddha was asked, Is Nirvana real? He simply smiled and said, Bhikkhus, there is the cessation of suffering, and it is real. Samyutta Nikaya 56.11. It was not a promise, not a doctrine, but a truth to be realized. Nirodha is not something to believe in, but something to experience. Like a thirsty man who needs to drink, not just hear about water, the suffering person does not need faith, but direct realization of inner peace. In the Dhammapada, verse 204, the Buddha said, Health is the greatest gift, contentment the greatest wealth, Nirvana the highest bliss. This shows that Nirvana is not emptiness, but the summit of happiness, a peace unconditioned by greed, anger, or delusion. One can live in the world yet remain unmoved by it. A person abiding in Nirodha still smiles, still works, still loves, but all actions flow from wisdom, not ignorance. Nirodha cannot be understood through analytical thinking alone, because conceptual mind still revolves around I, suffering, ending. The Buddha called this the wave of perception, the illusion that keeps the mind swinging between being and non-being. Only when the mind rests fully within itself, without seeking further, does Nirvana reveal itself. In the Majjhima Nikaya, MN 26, The Noble Search, the Buddha recounted his awakening. When greed ceased, suffering ceased; when hatred ceased, suffering ceased; when delusion ceased, suffering ceased. When these three roots were extinguished, the mind became cool, like a gentle breeze in the heat of summer. Zen masters often say, practice is not to become, but to return. Return to what? To the pure original mind, unclouded by greed, anger, or delusion. Nirodha is the pristine state of mind when impurities fall away. As the Lankavatara Sutra says, the mind is originally luminous, it is obscured only by transient defilements. Cessation doesn't create something new. It simply removes the fog, letting wisdom's light shine on its own. No one attains nirvana, they simply release what is not nirvana. Modern neuroscience has begun to touch what the Buddha saw millennia ago. Meditation studies show that when people stop reacting emotionally, the brain literally cools down. Activity in the amygdala, the center of fear and anxiety, significantly decreases. This is a biological nirvana, the physical expression of Nirodha within the body. What the Buddha called the end of suffering, science now calls neural equilibrium. When the mind stops reacting, the brain stabilizes, the body relaxes, and suffering ceases. One day, while meditating under a tree, the Buddha was approached by a distraught farmer. Lord, he cried, I've lost my cows and my crops have failed, I'm in such misery. The Buddha replied, I cannot help you find your cows, but I can show you a way never to suffer again. The farmer was confused. How can I not suffer when I've lost everything? The Buddha asked, if your cows are gone but your mind is peaceful, do your cows still own you? The farmer was silent. The Buddha smiled. Suffering doesn't come from the cows, but from the mind that clings to them. Nirodha cannot exist without dukkha. It is through knowing suffering that we learn how to end it. If life were only pleasure, no one would seek awakening. Just as a lotus grows from the mud, the realization of cessation arises from the understanding of suffering. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha said, one who sees suffering sees the path. One who sees the path sees cessation. The unwise pray for a life without waves. The wise learn to stand firm within them. Cessation doesn't mean the world grows quiet, it means the heart remains still even as the winds blow. When storms arise and your mind remains like a calm lake, that is Nirodha. As a rock is not shaken by the wind, the wise are not moved by praise or blame. Dhammapada, verse 81. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said, when we breathe mindfully, we are cooling the fires of affliction. Each peaceful breath is a step into nirvana. Ajahn Chah taught, nirvana is not at the end of the path. It is here, when you stop and see things as they are. Their words remind us, Nirodha is not a reward, but the stillness of the present moment. To stop, to see, to breathe, is already to live in cessation. Understanding Nirodha shows us that the end of suffering is not distant, but a way of meaningful living right now. Each day we choose peace over anger, release over attachment, we practice cessation. In the next part, we will explore practical lessons from Nirodha, how to apply this wisdom in our daily work, relationships, and the hardest moments of life. The Buddha taught, "No one suffers from what they do not cling to." A simple line, yet it reveals the truth that all human suffering begins with attachment. We suffer because we try to hold what has changed, to keep those who've gone, to grasp what is impermanent. But as the Buddha said, all conditioned things are subject to change. The first lesson of Nirodha is, letting go is not losing, it is freedom. When we let go, our hands are free to hold the present moment. Those who let go are not weak, they are strong enough to no longer need to hold. Abandon what should be abandoned, that is the path to peace. Dhammapada, verse 83. Most suffering doesn't come from the situation itself, but from our failure to recognize that we are suffering. When angry, we think we're right. When greedy, we think it's love. When afraid, we think it's care. Only when we stop and see emotions as they are does cessation begin. The Buddha said, "See suffering as suffering, neither add nor subtract." When seen clearly, the mind is freed. Cessation arises not from outer acts, but from the light of mindfulness illuminating the heart. When awareness shines, darkness dissolves. The breath is the bridge between body and mind. When we suffer, we often forget to breathe. Yet by returning to the breath, we have already walked halfway toward cessation. A mindful breath shines light upon pain without judgment. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Anapanasati Sutta, the discourse on mindful breathing. Each mindful breath is a miracle. It nourishes the body and heals the mind. When the mind returns to the breath, the waves of pain settle, and the water of the heart becomes clear again. Many suffer because they try to change what cannot be changed. We resist aging, resent loss, and fear death. Yet acceptance is not resignation, but the wisdom to see that all things follow nature's law. Nothing lasts forever, and that impermanence itself is beautiful. Like a lotus that blooms from mud. Amid impermanence, the wise remain serene. Acceptance doesn't make us weak, it makes us profound. Those who accept life as it is flow with the current without being swept away when the heart is full of compassion. Suffering cannot stay long. For compassion is the antidote to anger and ignorance. The Buddha said, "Hatred never ceases by hatred. Only by love does hatred cease." Dhammapada, verse 5. When we look at others with compassion, we not only save them, we liberate ourselves. Compassion need not be grand, it begins with a look of understanding. A gentle word. Each time we choose kindness over judgment, we step closer to Nirodha. Suffering exists only in memory and imagination. The past is gone, the future has not come, only the present is real. Yet the human mind wanders between these two illusions. The lesson of Nirodha is, come back. Right now. Only in this moment can suffering truly cease. Do not chase the past, nor long for the future. The present moment is the path of the awakened. Samyutta Nikaya 35.97. There can be no Nirodha without wisdom. Wisdom is not about knowing much, it is seeing reality as it truly is. To see that joy and sorrow, gain and loss, are two sides of the same coin. The wise do not chase either side, they stand in the middle way. He who sees the arising and passing away of phenomena, sees the Dhamma, sees the Tathagata. Majjhima Nikaya 28. Wisdom does not remove suffering, it transforms it into a teacher. Every pain becomes a lesson to understand oneself and love others more deeply. Nirodha is not only stillness, it is acting with awareness. Working mindfully, speaking mindfully, listening mindfully. This is how cessation becomes life itself. You don't need to leave the world to find peace. You just need to remember yourself within it. The path to Nirodha is not quick. Like a seed needs time to sprout, awakening needs time to mature. The Buddha said, "Do not underestimate small acts of goodness, for a jar is filled drop by drop." Dhammapada, verse 122. Each mindful breath, each smile, each act of forgiveness, are drops of Nirodha. Patience is not waiting, but walking in peace even without seeing the result when we live these lessons. Nirodha ceases to be a concept and becomes our daily breath and smile. In the final part, the inspirational conclusion, we'll look back at the Four Noble Truths to realize. Liberation is not elsewhere, but right here. In every moment of awareness we have walked a long journey together, from the truth of suffering, to its cause, to its cessation. The first three truths are mirrors reflecting life, and the third, Nirodha, is the door to freedom. It is not a distant tale of the Buddha's enlightenment, but a map for our own lives. The Buddha never asked for blind faith, he invited direct seeing. He said, "Bhikkhus, I only show the path, walking it is up to you." Anguttara Nikaya. Truth does not live in words, but in the experience of mindful presence. And if we can pause, even for a single moment of awareness, in that instant, cessation has already begun. Many seek enlightenment as a faraway destination. They think they must study endlessly, meditate for years, or climb mountains to glimpse nirvana. But Nirodha is not at the end of the path, it is in every mindful step. When we eat mindfully, work mindfully, love mindfully, nirvana is already here. It is not a special moment, but ordinary life seen with extraordinary clarity. In the seeing, there is only the seeing. In the hearing, only the hearing. Bahya Sutta, Udana 1.10. Look back at an ordinary day. In the morning, our mind races with thoughts. At noon, we're caught in work, stress, and plans. At night, we long for rest but peace feels far away. Yet if, in any of those moments, we pause, just to breathe, smile, and realize we are alive, then Nirodha ceases to be a concept. It becomes a living experience within body and mind. Cessation doesn't wait for perfection. It begins the moment you return home to yourself. To live in cessation does not mean avoiding pain, but seeing pain clearly and not being bound by it. Those who dwell in Nirodha are not emotionless, they feel deeply without drowning. They love, yet do not cling. They help, yet do not seek reward. They act, yet are free from expectation. This is freedom within involvement. Like a flower untouched by flame. Like a lotus unstained by mud. The Buddha said, "One who has realized nirvana knows no fear. For he sees there is nothing to hold on to." Ativutaka. In the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha said, "All beings have the capacity for awakening. But through not seeing and not knowing, they wander in samsara." Happiness is not something we achieve, it is what we recognize when we stop searching. Like a man wearing his hat who asks, "Where's my hat?" The peace of Nirodha has always been within us. We just fail to notice it while chasing illusions. The Buddha was not a god granting salvation, but a guide showing the way. He walked the path himself, leaving footprints for us to follow. Yet each of us must walk it alone. No one can tread our path for us. He said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." Mahaparinibbana Sutta. That lamp is not far, it is mindfulness, wisdom, and compassion. When these three unite, Nirodha ceases to be a goal, and becomes the very ground beneath each step. Nirodha is not the answer for monks alone. It is a light for every human being seeking their way through pain. When we understand cessation, fear fades, resentment ends, and the endless search stops. We live lighter, love deeper, and feel greater gratitude. If in this life you can once truly see your suffering and smile at it, in that very moment, you have entered nirvana. For nirvana is not where you arrive, it is what you see. May all beings see suffering without fear, let go without loss, and live mindfully in peace. May the light of Nirodha illuminate your heart, so that through all storms and seasons, you may always keep the serene smile of awakening. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.